Hello, welcome back to RetroBreak and welcome to a Nintendo Kid's perspective on the PlayStation 1. I've been wanting to do this video for a long time, but it was thanks to Joshua, a long-time Patreon supporter of mine, who gave me the suggestion to do a PS1 video, so thank you so much for that. I've got so much that I want to cover in this episode. I'm actually going to split it up into 3 different parts. So we've got games that I had while I was growing up, I've got 5 games from later on in life that I really enjoyed, and then I've got another set of 5 games which are games that I've got but haven't got around to playing yet, but I really want to. So there's a lot that I want to talk about in this video and I hope it'll be a really good episode. But before I do, here's a quick shout out for my channel sponsor Bifrost Bridge Studios. So they're actually giving away some of their media right now over on their Gumroad site, so I'll put a link in the description so you can go and check that out. There's some really cool stuff on there and they're doing it to support families who are struggling in Texas at the minute, so it's for a really good cause, so go and check them out. I'll put a link down in the description below, and now let's get on with the video. So, as you probably guessed from the title, I don't really have the fondest memories of the PlayStation 1, and there's a few reasons for that. Of course, like the title suggests, I was first and foremost a Nintendo kid. So, while all my friends at school were playing on their PlayStations, I had an N64 and a SNES, and I absolutely loved them. We did actually have a PS1 at the time. We actually had a chipped PS1, and I actually found all of the original games that we had back then. And you can see that they're just in these really cheap looking CD cases. So it was really cool to actually see them. Like there's Gran Turismo. One of my favourite games that I used to play back then, Music 2000. So as you can see, I grew up with the PlayStation without really having any official games for it. I only really had these copied games that we've got here. And for that reason, it kind of never felt as special as the N64, which I'd always have to save up loads of money for. So for that reason, as well as the fact that I preferred the Nintendo consoles at the time for various reasons, I never really got into the PlayStation until a bit later on in life. Of course, since then I've been back and bought all of the games that I had copies for, and I've picked out 5 games here which were 5 that I grew up with and I've got really fond memories of. So I'll just go through these quickly and then we'll move on to 5 that I played a bit later on. So the first one I've got here is Music 2000. Or it's just called Music Creation for the PlayStation. At the time, back in the day, I was a huge fan of the PC software called Dance EJ, and I had this on the PlayStation as well, and it's basically the same thing but on the PlayStation. The unfortunate thing about this version is the fact that because it's on a CD, it sounds really good, but the loading times, at least compared to what I was used to on the PC, were quite slow. So I did actually have a lot of fun going back to play this one to record some footage for this video, so have a listen to this amazing track that I came up with. Another game that I remember playing a lot back in the day, or should I say watching my dad play a lot of back in the day. I actually remember he was playing this on the TV and I was playing Sonic and Knuckles, I think, on the PC at the same time. This is the original Tomb Raider, and going back to play this game again today, oh my god, the controls are just awful. I just could not get used to the controls at all. But apart from that, I mean, it holds a very special place in a lot of people's hearts, but coming from the N64 at the time, going to play Tomb Raider, it just felt really janky to play. But for me, going from games like Mario 64 and Banjo-Kazooie back to playing a more basic 3D game like this, I just could not get my head around the controls back in the day. But I did enjoy the environments, I enjoyed watching my dad play it, and I know a lot of people really love the Tomb Raider series, and I really enjoyed the later games in the series, but I've never really gave the originals that much of a chance, so maybe I should go back and change that. Now the third game here, I picked this one out because I think this is the one that we had back in the day. I do now have all of the Ridge Racer games, but this was the one that I grew up with. This one is called Ridge Racer Revolution, and it was such a cool game back in the day. I love my racing games, and this one, the graphics were really cool, the controls were really nice and responsive, and going back to play this version today, Revolution, it is a really good game, although I have to say that these days I much prefer Ridge Racer Type 4 on the PlayStation 1 instead, but any of the Ridge Racer games, honestly, you're going to have a great time. They actually hold up really well. And another 2 games that also hold up really well and 2 games. With me being a Nintendo fan, of course, I loved my cartoony platformers, so we have Spyro 2 and we have the original Rayman, and at the time I absolutely loved both of these games. I remember with the original Rayman I actually preferred playing the PC version, because on the PC I actually had a version called Rayman Gold which actually let you make your own courses, which was really cool. But when I couldn't get on the PC, I really enjoyed playing it on the PS1, and going back to play it today, the graphics in this game are just outstanding. Unfortunately, because it's a PAL game, and that's something that did affect my enjoyment of the system quite a bit, the games actually run a lot slower here than they would do over in America, so that's something you have to take into account when you're going back to play PS1 games today. So I'm actually hoping that when the Poly Mega comes out that I'll be able to play all of these original PAL games that I've got, but in the NTSC 60Hz speed, which is something that I love doing with the rest of my retro collection. Now I've got modded consoles or better ways to play the games, but unfortunately for the PS1 I'm just stuck at the minute with either my original system or the PlayStation 3, and they both have the same issue that PAL games run quite a lot slower than what I would like and what I'm used to seeing online these days. But either way, it doesn't really stop me enjoying the games that much.
We didn't get a chance to introduce ourselves before. My name is Alora.
Hi, I'm Spyro. What are you, some kind of goat?
I'm a fawn, you dork.
Oh, sorry.
Now, the next 5 games I've got here, these are kind of my top 5 games for the PlayStation that I played after I'd grown up already. So these are ones that I went back and bought later on in life. So I'm going to start here. You might have heard me talk about this one before. This is Need for Speed 3. And I actually only picked this one up a few years ago and I just fell in love with it the moment I put the game in. I'd actually already played all of the other Need for Speed games on the PlayStation 1, but when I got around to playing this one, it's just so much better than those other Need for Speed games. It completely blew me away. Just the smoothness of the game, the controls are just perfect, and it runs at a silky smooth 60 frames a second, and it doesn't have any of the PAL slowdown that I mentioned earlier. So highly, highly recommend Need for Speed 3 on the PlayStation 1. I'd actually even say that I prefer this over Ridge Racer Type 4, it is that good. Now the next one here, and I actually got this game off a friend for my birthday back at uni, and I was so happy to get this one. I remember I'd actually seen on Facebook that my local game shop called Chips back then actually had it in stock, and I think he saw me tweeting or a reply on Facebook saying how much I was excited for it, and he actually went and bought it, but I didn't know that at the time, so I actually went to the shop to buy it and it wasn't there. So imagine my surprise a few days later when I actually unwrapped it, and I absolutely fell in love with the game. At the time when I got this, I'd already played the remake on the Wii and I loved that, and I'd actually also played Klonoa 2 on the PlayStation 2 as well, which is actually one of my favourite games on that system. So the chance to go back and experience the original game, and it was just as good as I was hoping it would be. I really do love this game. Now the next one here, and some of you might be a bit surprised that I only picked this one up later on in life. I actually picked this up while I was at college, but I didn't actually get around to playing it until a few years later. This is Final Fantasy VII, and to be honest, because of all the insane hype that I'd had leading up to me finally playing this game, maybe about 10 years after it had originally came out, I have to say it didn't quite live up to the crazy high expectations that I'd set for this game, but I did really enjoy it nonetheless. I played it all the way through and I did have a great time, and I have been back to buy over there somewhere Final Fantasy VIII and IX as well, but I haven't actually played either of them yet. So maybe this year I'll get around to playing one of them, but I do have quite a backlog of JRPGs that I want to play. But I did really enjoy Final Fantasy VII, and even though the game was already old by that point, I was still really impressed by what they did mixing in the FMV with the gameplay. And of course it's got a great story and a great battle system, and it is just a great game overall. Now we have another game that I played through at uni. I actually played through this one with my friend Zach, who goes by The Beard Gaming on here, so I'll put a link in the description if you want to go and check his channel out. And we've also done a few collaborations in the past as well, so maybe I'll link them down below as well. But The Heart of Darkness is a really cool game. It's made by the same people that made Another World and Flashback for the SNES and the Mega Drive and the Amiga, so Definitely got a good pedigree behind it. So how would you really describe this game? It's kind of an adventure game, but it's a side scroller and it's incredibly difficult. It kind of reminds me of something like Dragon's Lair, where you kind of have to repeat things over and over again to figure out the right way to get through certain situations. I went back to play it to capture some footage for this video, and wow, is it difficult. It's really, really challenging, but it's a really cool game, and I've actually got the version here that comes with some red and blue 3D glasses as well. And if I remember right, there's like certain cutscenes in the game that you can view in 3D. But overall, it's a really, really cool and unique game, and it's definitely a game that I would recommend anyone try out if you've not played it before. And the final game that I've got here in this set of 5 that I've come to love over the years, this one is falling apart, and it is Tetris Plus, my favourite version of Tetris. And I've played a lot of Tetris, so for me to say that this is my favourite version, that is definitely saying something. The main reason I love this one, and you probably already know by now if you've been watching the channel for a while, I love the puzzle mode in this game. I just find it so addictive. You basically just have to play Tetris as normal, but you have to destroy enough blocks for the professor to be able to get down to get to the treasure chest at the bottom of the stage. It's such a simple concept and it works so well, and I also love the fact that you can do 2-player, but basically you're both playing your own game side by side. I actually, back in the day, back at uni, about 11 years ago now, played all the way through it with my friend Andy, and I've actually got some gameplay on this channel. Some of it got taken down because of copyright strikes, but I think there might be 1 or 2 episodes still up there if you want to go and check it out. But either way, highly recommend checking out Tetris Plus. And it's also got a version on the original Game Boy as well, if you'd prefer to play it in a handheld mode. And that one also includes the puzzle mode, which makes it a really, really great game for the system too. And now these last 5 games, these are 5 games that I've picked up over the years but I haven't got round to playing yet, but I really want to. That actually applies for quite a lot of the other games that I've got back here as well, but I just wanted to go through these ones because I know a lot of people in the comments would be saying, why didn't you talk about so and so? So first I have Dino Crisis. This was a game that was made by the creators of Resident Evil, but as the title suggests, it's dinosaurs walking around instead of zombies. And I've heard they're really, really good games, and I'm definitely really looking forward to playing this in the near future. I actually went back last year and played through all of the Resident Evil games on the PS1, and I really enjoyed that. So I really want to see what Capcom came up with the dinosaur concept. Now the next one, this was one that I was really excited to get a few years ago at one of the gaming markets that I went to. This is the original Grandia for the PlayStation 1. I loved Grandia 2 on the Dreamcast back in the day, but I'd never actually played the original, so I was really excited to find this one. But I've actually been considering getting the collection on the Switch rather than playing it on the PS1, so let me know down in the comments below whether you think I should play the original on the PlayStation, or whether you think I should go for the HD port on the Switch instead. And I mentioned it earlier, but here's Final Fantasy VIII. I really want to get around to playing this one at some point because I've heard really good things about it. And just that intro cutscene that I keep seeing all the time at the school, where it's all FMV and it goes straight into the game, I just think it looks so cool, so I can't wait to give this one a go. But my backlog at the minute is just insane. I'm sure you know that if you've been watching my channel for a while, or if you follow me on Backloggery. I've actually had quite a few people follow me over there recently, so if you want to go and check it out, I'll put a link in the description, and you can go and add me to your multi-tap, which means that when you're adding games to your list, you'll be able to see what games I'm playing and stuff down the side. So definitely consider going and doing that if you want to keep up to date with what games I'm actually playing. Now the next one here, unfortunately another RPG, but this is one that I really need to get around to playing because this was a game that was made by Quintet. This one is called the Grandstream Saga, and it's another one I've heard really good things about, but the reason I want to play this one is because at some point in the near or far future, who knows, I'm going to be doing a big video all about Quintet, and I was really excited to pick this up a few years ago, and I still haven't got round to playing it. So maybe one day this year, who knows. And the final game, and one that I can't actually play at the minute because I don't have a way of playing NTSC PS1 games, but when I get the Polymega, or when I get a new modded PS1 or something in the future, Chrono Cross is definitely one of the games that I'm looking forward to playing. I've actually been listening to the soundtrack quite a lot, but I've never actually played the game very much at all, so I'm really looking forward to giving Chrono Cross a go, whenever that may be. So there we go guys, that was a bit of my personal history with the PS1, some games that I grew up with, some of my favourite games and some games that I want to play. So let me know down in the comments below, it would be really cool if you share with me as well games that you grew up with, some of your favourite games that you picked up after the fact, and some games that you'd like to play for the system that you haven't got round to yet. Please subscribe, I'm so close to 10,000 subscribers, it would really mean a lot to me if you subscribe, and fingers crossed I get there before my birthday, which is coming up in a few weeks time. That would be an amazing present. Please go and check out Patreon if you want some behind the scenes looks and to support me over there. And that's it for now, I will see you all next week for the next episode. Goodbye!